Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Threads Office Hours, where I do deep dives on questions that are submitted by you guys, our community. I'm Xenia Chen, and I'm the founder of Threads. So happy September. I can't believe we're already moving towards the end of the year. I hope you guys all had an amazing summer. I thought it would be fun today to do an episode that's sort of focused on styling, especially going into the fall. We always get a lot of questions from you guys asking us for styling tips or outfit inspiration. So today I'm going to tackle some questions on that topic. All right, let's get right into it. So the first question we have today is, do you have any tips for transitioning my summer wardrobe into fall? This is a great question, and I think this is so top of mind, especially this time of year. We are in September, which, everyone knows is fall. However, sometimes the fall weather doesn't really kick in until October or so. So we're kind of left with this month where it's fall, but maybe the temperatures are still super, super warm. So I don't know about you, but sometimes I definitely look into my closet and I'm like, what do I wear today? Like, I feel like I'm in the fall mood, but the temperature is saying otherwise. So I'm going to go over a few tips that I have been using for many years, and really, like, when in doubt, I always just revert to these very, very simple tips. I am based in Toronto, so this weird transitional time usually lasts until about Canadian Thanksgiving. So that's usually like the first week of October. So I always use these tips for, the first month and a half or so of fall. All right, so first tip, it's going to be the easiest one. It's just swap out the shoe in your summer look. So what do I mean by that? If you are wearing like a summer outfit, so, like light blouse, jean shorts, and usually you'd wear sandals for that, like, to me, that screams very summer outfit. If you switch out the shoe into a pair of closed toe shoes, so I always say switch from open toe to closed toe, that will really change the entire vibe of the look. So if you are switching your sandals to a maybe like a dark brown or black loafer, all of a sudden that outfit is gonna look very, very different from what it looked like with a pair of sandals. If you don't believe me, go into your closet now and try it, because it's honestly like the easiest swap or hack that you can do. It doesn't have to be loafers. It can be a pair of, I don't know, like brown riding boots or a pair of lug boots. It's really easy to just transition your outfit that way. So yeah, when in doubt, open toe to closed toe. My second tip is pair a summer cut with a fall texture. So I wore this top on purpose because I wanted, this is a good example. So a summer cut. So this is a summer cut because it's a tank top and I wear this a lot in the summer, but it's a fall texture because it's a knit. So, it's a little bit heavier. And even though this is, I think, a summer piece, because it has the fall texture, it's very easy to take this into fall without seeming overly summer. So other examples of summer cuts to me are, like tank top, t-shirt, anything strapless, like any sort of like wide leg cropped pant. To me, those are summer cuts. And what are some other examples of fall texture? So of course, knit, anything like cable knitty, sweater vibe. And I also love like a corduroy for fall, even leather for fall. So if you have any pieces that sort of marry the summer cut and the fall texture, those are going to be your winners for this time of the year. My third tip is find and invest in a really comfortable base layer, like a long sleeve base layer, something that you feel really good in, and something that is ideally like moisture wicking or sweat proof. And the reason why is you can very easily insert this base layer under something that's like short sleeved or maybe like a tank top cut or a sleeveless cut. So for example, I'm gonna pick on this piece again. If I put a brown or maroon or black base layer under this, this is instantly going to become like a more fall outfit instead of like a summer shirt when I'm wearing it sleeveless. So Yeah, I would say definitely try on lots of base layers. Find one you really love because that is really going to be a workhorse in your closet. And in the same vein, the base layer for your leg is going to be your tights. So I would say like invest in a pair of tights that like really feel good for you. Obviously, I'm biased. We have a lot of tights that I love. But if you find like a sheer black tight or sheer brown tight or nude tight, that is really going to help you take a lot of your summer cuts on the bottom into fall. So yeah, I would say, find a good base layer for your top and then find good tights for the bottom, which are basically the base layers of your legs. And my fourth tip for how to take your wardrobe from summer to fall is the color brown is your best friend. I think it's one of the most underrated colors in fashion, and I know brown is having a very big moment right now, which I'm really excited for, but it really is one of those colors that, despite it being trendy now, I do think it's very timeless. It's basically like a more soft version of black. I know navy, people talk about navy a lot, but I love brown. I think brown is amazing. And especially this time of the year, brown is a really great way to, again, like soften up your more deep fall or winter looks. So some ways I really like to integrate the color brown into my wardrobe this time of year is I love wearing a classic tall brown boot. So I'm thinking like, like a suede brown boot or a classic leather riding boot or even something that's a little bit lower cut. I think those are great investment pieces that you are going to be wearing every single year. So yeah, I love the use of a brown boot. I also love the use of brown accessories. And, if you're going to have a handbag or a belt, again, those are also great investment pieces. And it's just a really easy way to soften up your look versus wearing something like black. This year, I've seen brown coats a lot, and I am such a big fan. I think it looks so great. I think I've been seeing a lot of this like Western look a lot in stores, which I think is super cool. But yeah, that's a great sort of vibe and piece for this time of the year. So yeah, those are just some quick ways that I like to integrate brown into my wardrobe this time of year. So those are my 4 tips. They're pretty simple, and I always go to them when I'm thinking about dressing during this time of year. So I hope you find them helpful. Let me know if you try any of them. I would love to hear what you think. Okay, so the second question that I'm going to be answering today is, what are the key trends for fall winter 2025? This is a great question. So every year we always look at the 4 major fashion weeks for guidance on what's kind of, going to be really popular and in style for the 6 to 9 months after those shows. So for example, and those shows, by the way, are New York, Milan, Paris, and London. So for the fall winter 2025 shows, they actually happened earlier this year. So I can give you a little bit of an overview on what we've been seeing. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of these trends play out just, in real life, but also in stores and whatnot. So, the number one trend, and I talked a little bit about this in the last question, is the color brown. So you're going to be seeing the color brown everywhere. And I know usually brown is a very big color in the fall, but this year it's huge. And something that we've noticed on our end is we have really noticed the sales of our brown espresso tights skyrocket in the last 6 months, which I found really interesting because, before it was always a really popular nude tight for darker skin tones, but recently we've seen a lot of people just, buy them as maybe an alternative to a pair of black sheer tights, or maybe, they want something a little bit different. So we've been seeing the color brown a lot on runways, but also in stores, which I'm really excited about because I think brown is actually one of the most underrated colors when it comes to fashion. I think a lot of the times it can make the same-ish statement as black without being overly, like evening wear or like in your face about it. So yeah, very, very excited for the this trend of brown. All right, so another trend that we've been seeing a lot is lace. So on all the major runways earlier this year, we saw so much lace. So, I mean, we love lace. We have a lot of lace in our styles, but it was also very cool to see it on runways in different colors. So instead of the traditional black or white, we would see like yellow, hot pink, light blue. So lace is definitely going to be a very big trend this year, this fall, winter. Another trend that we saw earlier this year was this theme of being cozy. And I know that sounds a little bit silly, but what I mean by that is we saw a lot of looks on runways that included many different layers, sort of like thrown on almost, like mismatched layers, a lot of soft, plush, basically cozy fabrics, a lot of big scarves, chunky sweaters, chunky knits, and placed in a way that sometimes it looks like almost just random. So, I mean, this sounds a little bit silly, but like it really gives you the vibe of like, curling up on your couch, with 3 blankets on, just relaxing, which I love. So the fourth trend we've seen a lot is animal print and furs. So whether that's real or faux, there's been a lot of looks on the runway that include either the print or the fabric and the texture. We saw this a little bit last year. I think last year was the year of the leopard. This year we're seeing sort of everything, which is really cool. So yeah, those are, the 4 main trends that we've seen in a lot of the runways in the major shows this year. So it'll be interesting to see how that gets reflected on the streets and in stores. Okay, so our next question is, can you give some style ideas if you're a guy who wants to show off your tights? So this is a great question. And I just want to start by saying, in general, whenever I give fashion or style advice, I'm not directly giving it to women or men. I'm really talking to everyone because, as you guys know, at Threads, we believe that fashion isn't really a gendered thing. Like if I'm, saying this look could be interesting, I'm talking to both men and women. That being said, we know that there's not a lot of style guidance out there for men who wear tights. So we do want to be a little bit more of an extra resource for men. Again, just because there's not really that much stuff out there. I love answering questions like these. So from my experience, guys in our community usually fall into one of 2 categories. So the first category is men who wear tights, but they want to be discreet about it. They don't really want to show off their tights. They wear it under their pants. It's very subtle. The second group is men who really want to show off their tights and they want to make a fashion statement. They don't want to be subtle. And the interesting thing is, over the past few years, I have seen a gradual move from men from the first category to the second category, which I think is super exciting. So a lot of the times I will get questions, or our team will get questions from guys who are sort of trying to make the jump from category 1 to category 2. So today I'm going to give you, I guess, 3 pieces of clothing that you can integrate into your wardrobe if you want to show off your tights. The number 1 piece of clothing, which I think is the most obvious, is shorts. So if you are wearing tights with shorts, that is like a surefire way to show off your tights because everyone can see your legs exposed. But I want to talk about the different types of shorts and how the fabric and the cut can really influence like the whole vibe of your look. So my general, I think, like rule of thumb with shorts is the shorter the short, the more informal it is. So the longer the short, the more formal it is. Obviously there are exceptions, but overall, this is how I feel about shorts. And again, this applies for women too. So if you are going to, I don't know, like a backyard barbecue in the afternoon, it's very casual and you want to wear tights, you can probably wear a shorter pair of shorts and that will contribute to the more casual vibe of your outfit. if you are going to an evening event, maybe a little bit more formal, a little bit more dressy, you probably would want to opt for a pair of longer shorts, maybe Bermuda style, something like that. Another factor that can really influence the vibe of your tights and your shorts is the fabric of the shorts. So fabric plays a huge role in fashion, of course, but for shorts, I think if you're gonna pick a pair of shorts with like a lighter wash jean or a terry or like a sweatsuit fabric, that's going to be a lot more casual than something that's, maybe like a suit fabric or like a darker wash jean or like a khaki fabric. So I think those are definitely the two factors that you need to think about when you're picking a pair of shorts that matches your vibe. And then beyond that, really, you can style it with any types of tights. Shorts are definitely the obvious choice for a piece of clothing when you're trying to show off your tights, but there's such a big range of shorts that I promise you will not be bored, if you're shopping for the right pair of shorts to go with your look. Okay, so tip number 2 is buy a pair of ripped pants. Or you can do the ripping yourself. So a pair of ripped jeans, it doesn't really matter what wash it is, but this is a really fun and interesting way of showing your tights underneath. I absolutely love it when people do this, especially when their tights are patterned underneath. So, like a fishnet or a lattice or a polka dot, or even something that has a fun pop of color. So in our case, like the Bordeaux or the espresso tights. I think it's just a really fun and cheeky and unexpected way to show off your tights while also giving a little bit more of like an edgy vibe, which I think is so fun and cool. Of course, it doesn't have to be one pair of pants. You can get as many ripped pairs of pants as you want, but I think this is another really fun way of just showing off your tights. Another fun thing that I've seen is if you have a pair of black jeans that are ripped and you're wearing a pair of black tights underneath, whether it's sheer or opaque, I think that's such a cool look because in terms of color, the entire look is monochromatic, but the textures are so different. And I think to someone who's just walking by, it almost makes them do a double take with like what you're wearing underneath, which I think is really, really cool. And the third tip is you can always try wearing the tights with a kilt. Obviously a little bit more different and less mainstream than the first two tips, but we have seen kilts really come into mainstream style in the last few years. We saw A$AP Rocky on the cover of GQ wearing a kilt just a few years ago, which I thought was really cool. And I know a lot of our male customers do wear kilts with their tights. So just a suggestion, if you have tried wearing a kilt with your tights, I would love to hear about, the colors and the fabrics. But anyway, I think that's such a cool and unique way to show off your tights. So those are my 3 tips. Yeah, so I hope that was helpful. And if you have any other styling questions, especially as it pertains to men, I would love to hear them and potentially answer them on a future episode. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you have any other questions, whether it's related to styling, products, anything else, I would love to answer them on a future episode. I will drop the question submission link in the comments. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. I have so much fun filming these episodes, and I'm so thankful that you guys tune in. So have a great week ahead, and I will see you next time.